Hey everybody, welcome to the Happy Harvest Homestead. Today I am going to be talking about one of the greatest things ever invented, the goat-buck anti-mating apron. This is an amazing thing that I am so surprised that everyone is not completely raving about. Our lovely Nigerian Dwarf goat-buck will be modeling it for us today. While we have used many sizes of many different buck aprons on many bucks over the years, our current Nigerian Dwarf goat buck Tam is the only one we have on the farm at the moment, but I think he makes quite the dashing and adorable example, and because you are on the other side of the camera, you can't smell him, so I think staring at him through most of this video will be just fine. Of course, I will show some pictures of our previous goats wearing aprons as well, as the need arises. I guess first we should talk about what is a buck apron, and as our lovely model is showing you right now, it's basically a piece of fabric that hangs around a male goat's belly, and there's various straps to hold it in place, and it prevents them from being able to breed any does. And when I first heard about this, it made me so excited, because this means you can house as many bucks as you want, with as many does as you want, in the same area, with the same fencing and the same food and the same care, without worrying about pregnancy at all. I see many people have many struggles with housing goat bucks on their land. They have to build separate pens for them, and they have to buy companion animals for them. Oftentimes they'll have to get 2 bucks or a buck and a wether because goats can't live alone, so they end up spending a lot more money on feed of an animal they don't really need. And I've heard many stories of bucks escaping from their pens, or jumping crazy high when a doe is in heat, or getting out somehow, and then accidental breedings happen, or they spend more and more money and more time and effort building stronger and stronger fortifications around their buck pen, so they don't have any escapes. And it's a nightmare for a lot of goat owners. And that is why, for the first little while, we chose to take our first does, Millie and Aria, to a buck on another farm and get them bred, instead of housing a buck here, because we only had a couple goats, and we didn't want all the expense and hassle of having a goat buck on our own farm. But then I stumbled across the goat buck apron, which made all of our lives so much easier. The first year our does were bred, both of them gave birth to twin boys. So even though we had tried to avoid having a buck on our farm, we ended up having 4 little bucklings, which of course we kind of expected, but we were hoping for some girls too, you know. And we ended up having a lot of trouble selling the boys, so we were advertising them and hoping to sell them, but they kept not selling and not selling and not selling. And we knew that as they would mature, they would eventually mature enough to start breeding back either their mom or their aunt, which obviously would be a very bad thing, not only for inbreeding reasons, but also because these does were not ready to be rebred again. They were still recovering from their first pregnancy, and we were still enjoying their wonderful milk production. So we separated them for a while in makeshift pens, and it was such a hassle and it was so crazy. But when I learned about buck aprons, I was super excited, and we decided to try them. Despite all the doubting people who said they didn't work, or they thought it was too risky and they wouldn't try it, I was surprised at how many people who mostly did not have personal experience with goat buck aprons were vehemently against them because they thought they wouldn't work, or they thought they would slip or shift over enough that the buck could still breed somebody. But we figured that it was worth a risk for us, so we got 4 buck aprons in the tiniest size we could to fit our baby Nigerian Dwarf bucklings. Even the smallest size we could find wasn't quite small enough for them, so we kind of had to pin them up and sew them in weird places to make them work and fit. But despite all the naysayers who didn't have much or any experience, we had the best success. And it wasn't just success with a very polite, very shy buck. We had 4 crazy, hormonal, maturing, insane bucks who were trying to breed everything in sight. And they had their mom and their aunt, and later 2 unrelated does, Penny and Tessa, who all would go through their normal cycles of heat, and none of them got bred by any of these 4 bucklings who were going crazy. They were going in brush and running up hills and tripping over their 2 big aprons that didn't really fit very well. And later, as they got bigger and bigger, their aprons fit perfectly and then fit kind of too short, and we were like, oh no, what are we gonna do? But even with aprons that were too big, just the right size, and too small, with multiple crazy bucklings and multiple does in heat for many, many months, we had no issues, no accidental breedings, nothing. It was so wonderful to keep the entire herd together. It cut our chore time in half. We didn't have to buy or put up expensive fencing or separate pens or separate pickets. The goats were so much happier being all together. There wasn't constant screaming to get at the girls or constant escape attempts. Our entire lives with the goat herd were magically changed into wonderful bliss, where before it had been quite stressful. So when Arya passed away, and we decided to keep her son Keely as our breeding buck, we got him a bigger size of buck apron and continued to house him with the girls. And nobody got bred until we took the apron off, separated him with 1 or 2 does who we wanted to be bred. Then he got his job done perfectly. Then we put the apron back on and let him back in with everybody else, and we were able to perfectly control the breeding all the time. It was absolutely wonderful. And now with our new breeding buck Tam, we did the exact same thing. When he came on our farm, we stuck him with some girls who we wanted to be bred. Then once they were bred, we put all the goats together and put a buck apron on Tam, and it has continued to work wonderfully. Now Tam is a very polite boy, and he's not crazy breeding like the young babies were, or even Keely. Keely was a much more forceful goat, and Tam is a very polite man, which I appreciate, and I'm sure the girls appreciate as well. But his buck apron has stayed on. Of course, we have the right size for him, and we've tightened it properly. It's not super loose, it's not too tight. But even though we have steep hills and thick brush and many things that can slip or pull or help loosen things up, the apron hasn't slipped off or slipped to the side. There have been no accidental breedings, even though we've had plenty of girls who have been in heat. So I would 100% suggest to anyone who wants the ease and joy and cheapness of housing a goat buck or multiple goat bucks in with their girls and the rest of the herd, that you try out a buck apron in the proper size. We have tried it over and over again and have seen nothing but wonderful success, and it makes our farm life so much easier. Thanks for watching.